mm, 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 mm. Oh, wow. Well, good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, and I can hear you. Oh my goodness. And I see Maya. Actually, good to see you. Hi, babe.
Hi, Maya.
Hi, everyone.
We're just gonna wait 33 seconds and then just jump right in. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I see Rebecca. Good morning. I see Cindy. Hi. Larry. Always good. Hi. Maya. Said hello to you already. Merle. Hi. Howard. Ray. Good to see you again. Thank you. Okay. Now
Helen invisible.
what? Pardon?
Helen is invisible. I'm here.
Oh, okay. Doris. Good morning. Helen. Susie.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, Barbara. Barbara, good to have you back with us. Hi, Barbara. Effie, Jim, Tamara. Okay, here we go.
Now, where am I?
Here we go. Back home again. Here we are. Okay.
Start. No, stop. Start video. Start video.
Yeah, I see Ray. Well, I don't see Ray. I know Ray is there. Harvey is there. I don't know if accompanied because I don't have a picture yet. Okay. Brad. Hi, Brad. Brad, if you can hear me, we owe each other a phone conversation. I haven't checked
Here
in
I am.
with you in a while. So, Brad, let's remember to do that, okay? Brad, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, Rabbi, let's do it.
Okay, yeah, because I want to, watch over you. I've got to.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Baruch atah Adonai. Hello.
Enu Melech Halam.
Share Kiddishanu. Torah. Okay. I see Mara. I see Mara. I guess Arisa's here. We're kind of up to date and ready to go. In terms of calendar, Jim Ruxin would like to tell us about living and explain why he has my wife watching a Japanese movie. Jim? No, he's not here. He was here a minute ago.
He was here.
He was. Okay. I'm not going to tell you that on June 8th at 7:30 p.m. There was a movie Living, June 8th, 7:30 p.m. Okay. Sukasa is here. Lynn is here. Good. Cindy, would you please fill us in on what is occurring with Sisterhood, High Tea, and all that stuff?
Yeah, June 7th, we're having a board meeting. June 13th, which is a Tuesday, we're having an end of the year high tea. Everybody is welcome. We still have some seats available. The link has been in the weekly. On the 20th, we're having a happy hour. The end of the month, Susie is chairing 2 events in 1 week. On the 27th, we're having a tour of the Kaddish Center to learn more about them and figure out what Sisterhood wants to be involved with once Resnick reopens. And then she's chairing Shabbat dinner at Froman's on the 30th. And then July 5th, we're having a tour of the Blacklist exhibit at the Skirball.
Cindy,
You want to say something?
excuse me. Yeah, I want to say that the tour of the Kaddish Center is the tour of the Kaddish Center in Koreatown.
Right.
Downtown synagogue.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I don't know if I said hello to Risa. Hi, Risa.
Good morning.
Okay, it is so good. Oh, Jim, I already gave you this big introduction and you walked off.
Got bounced off. Announcing a new day for the film discussion group. It's Thursday nights for the summer. We'll see how long that lasts at 7:30. And the film this coming Thursday is called Living with Bill Nye. He was in Sometimes, Always, Never, and other films we've enjoyed, like Love Actually and another one. And this is about a functionary in the British government post-war, late 50s. It's based on a Japanese film by Kurosawa. And this functionary is a very cold, sterile life and begins to do things that are strange to his staff. He's a building commissioner. And it's all about how he discovers what living is really all about. And then how his experience teaches those around him. Very charming, very well done movie. Highly recommended. It's called Living. It's on Amazon Prime. And we'll talk about it on Thursday night at 7:30.
Okay, this kind of explains
wait a minute,
why
Jim,
I
I
walked
watched-
into the living room and saw Risa listening to a Japanese film. So I guess
That's the original.
It's excellent.
Which one? I think they both are.
I haven't seen Living yet, but I heard
Oh,
it was
okay.
fabulous.
Well, the Japanese film is a great teaching lesson in film study because
It is.
it's very different in attitude. It's very Japanese, and it's more about what the population around him thinks, trying to decode the mystery of the last days of his life. And that's a minor part of the update, which is in English.
That's the film that's going to be watched on Thursday evening is Living, Living.
Right. And Ikuru is also on Amazon Prime. IKI.
Can you type, Jim, the name of the Japanese film in the chat?
Oh, sure. I'll do that. I'll do that
Okay,
right now.
thank you. While he's transliterating a Japanese film, we are going to go to work. Okay, so the Sedra for this week is Naso. Naso, we're going to, despite Effie, we're going to go directly to the Torah text. We're going to go to chapter 5, verse 11, page 926. 926. And I know that I checked back in my record, something like 6 years ago, we talked about this, but maybe every 6 years it's worth doing. Hi, Natalie. I didn't say hello to Natalie. Hi, Natalie. Oh, and then here's Harv. There's just so many issues. There's so many issues here. Page 926, verse 11. I'm just going to read, or Lynn, are you here? Okay, Lynn, my reader. Lynn, verse 11 to 15, please.
The Eternal One spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the Israelite people and say to them, if any wife has gone astray and broken faith with her husband, in that a man has had carnal relations with her unbeknown to her husband, and she keeps secret the fact that she has defiled herself without being forced, and there is no witness against her, but a fit of jealousy comes over him, and he is wrought up about the wife who has defiled himself, or if a fit of jealousy comes over one, and he is wrought up about his wife, although she has not defiled herself, the husband shall bring his wife to the priest, and he shall bring as an offering for her 1/10 of an ephah of barley flour. No oil shall be poured upon it, and no frankincense shall be laid on it, for it is a meal offering of jealousy, a meal offering of remembrance, which recalls wrongdoing."
Popular comedy sketch series.
Okay, somebody is speaking something in the background. Okay.
That was a long sentence. That was a very long sentence.
Which reminds me of another story, which I won't tell at this point, yes. But as long as you can insert a semicolon into whatever you're saying, you can speak forever. That is a secret of public speaking. Now, this is very severe stuff going on. First question, why does this culture impose a severe penalty on a crime? Why a severe penalty? Okay, Cindy.
Because it was probably something that was happening at the time.
Perfect, thank you. It's something that was happening. So let's say that adultery was not at all a rare event, and the authors of the Torah text wanted to put a stop to it, and they put in a very severe penalty. Okay? I'm sorry, Mara? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was just intruding on your conversation. I found that fascinating. Arthur, good morning. There are other reasons. One other reason is the beautiful thought of idolatry. How does idolatry sometimes link with adultery? I mean, they sound almost alike, but they're not. Why would idolatry perhaps be linked in with the severity of the punishment? Any thoughts? Jim, okay, maybe going back to an old film.
No. It's a betrayal. Idolatry is a betrayal of the Hebrew God, and adultery is a betrayal of your spouse.
Beautiful. Thank you. So that, yeah, betrayal. This is a betrayal. I'm going to say something else, and I know there won't be any strong reactions. Not only is it a betrayal of a vow, like you make a vow to God and you betray it, you make a vow to a husband and you betray it, but she is also, please don't yell at me, devaluing his property. Okay? It's not easy for me to say that, but it is what it is. She is, in some sense, the husband's property. Having been potentially caught in adultery, his stock has dropped. He has lost value. So there's all kinds of unpleasant stuff going on here, and that it needs to be addressed. Rashi is the one who says that she is being deceitful and broken faith, both to God and her marriage, and something else. It's very interesting how this is all woven together. The image of the relationship between God and the Israelite people is a relationship of marriage, right? Lo ish below isha, below isha, below ish, below shnehem, below shchina. No man should be without a woman, no woman should be without a man, and the two of them together require the presence of God. I will not go into the kind of starry stuff when every once in a while in the very traditional literature, you have a ménage à trois at the wedding night. You have the husband, you have the wife, oops, and there's God. So might make an interesting novel, but in any event, sacred relationships. Man and woman, sacred relationships. Now, it's interesting in verse 13, it says in English, a man has had carnal relations. Root meaning of the word carnal. Carnal. One of my favorite meals is chili con carne. What is carnal? Meat, flesh. So he has had flesh relationships, carnal, very interesting word. Carnal relationships. It's kind of like unpleasant word. And in the Hebrew, v'shecha v'ishita, and a man lies with her, shichvat zera. Shichvat zera. What's the word zera? Anyone know that word in Hebrew? Seed, S-E-E-D. A seed producing relationship. Shichvat zera, which is other than, we didn't really know what happened with Ruth and Boaz. We don't know. It doesn't use Shichvat zera there for that first night. We don't know. But this makes it very clear. This was carnal. This was penetration. She had actual sex with him. V'shachad ishita shichvat zera v'ne'ala me'enei isha. It was hidden. The husband didn't know about it. And in the eyes of the Torah, this compounded the problem. Not only was it carnal intercourse, but she was doing it, forgive the literal, behind her husband's back, and she was acting deceitfully. It was hidden. And she got away with it. Okay. Any question about that going forward? Any questions?
If she tells him, then it's okay?
It's an interesting kind of a thing. It doesn't seem, wait a second, you're not asking to clarify a Jewish legal no, you're just, okay.
No.
The emphasis on v'ne'elam, v'nistara, it was hidden. She did it behind his back. Would it have been less offensive? Well, we've talked about polyamory before. Polyamory does not have a respected place in Jewish law. I'm going to have to say this was for emphasis, but not to offer her a way out. Risa, why am I flashing back to Longmeadow, Massachusetts?
Oh, God, yes.
Longmeadow, Massachusetts in the 1970s. Stop shaking.
No, that wasn't nice.
Okay, so you're imposing your morality on others.
Yes.
The upper middle class Jewish community, the community that supported Federation, Israel Bonds, Jewish Day School, private, the synagogue, the whole business, that upper middle class would have key exchanging parties. They would gather, they would have a nice evening, everyone would throw a house key into a bowl.
Stop.
Pardon?
That's right. That happened, but
And then before they'd go, they'd pick a house key and go home with whoever's house key it was. Risa?
Wow.
That wasn't just the movies?
No, it happened here in Scottsdale for years.
Yeah, it went on.
Really? Jewish people?
Jewish
Yes.
people, and some
Jewish people.
of the marriages broke up also.
Yes. Not many,
What are we
though.
supposed to say? Thank God. Okay. And these were in many cases our friends. And I would like to stipulate in public that Risa and I,
We
with
didn't do
Risa would allow it never happened, not for us. Okay. But it did actually happen, therefore, with husband's knowledge. Does that make it any less troubling? Not in my eyes. Okay, Merle?
Now, so my question was just that, if the husband goes after the woman, does the husband get in any kind of trouble? Or just the woman because it's the woman that did it?
Why should the husband get in trouble?
I'm asking you. Did the husband get in
First of
trouble?
all, if he's married to Risa, major trouble. Second,
Finished.
Finished.
End
Second,
of discussion.
multiple marriages on the part of the husband were permitted. Thus, I would say to you, Merle,
Yeah.
etc. It would not invoke the same penalty. Okay, so okay, Tamara, we're gonna have. Okay, Tamara.
Yeah, but in this case, the husband should be, I mean, the man with whom the woman ostensibly had sex with should be culpable because he was having sex with a married woman.
Yes, so that the
So men were accountable
right, but does it say anywhere that he is
with
punished?
married gay men, and there were
You're breaking up a little bit, Tamara, but
yeah,
I don't know
my
if it says
internet.
it's punished, but I do know that he has damaged somebody else's property. That is clear. That is clear. Tamara, can you speak? Did it clear? Okay, fine. Sukasa, then Effie.
Well, I think the discussion about Massachusetts is a lot more interesting. But going back to the text for a minute, I don't understand 14, where the husband has a fit of jealousy and his wife hasn't defiled him. What's up with that?
She still has to undergo the trial by fire, the test in this text.
So it's saying that if the man has an issue because he thinks his wife, for whatever reason, makes him jealous, he has a right to punish her?
And I would say to you, just between the two of us, even if he didn't really suspect, but he was having trouble with her, he might want to make her miserable, he could still do this.
Terrible.
Okay. Terrible is obvious. Effie?
Yes, if in this system where you picked out the keys, if you happen to pick out the key of your spouse, do you get another pick? You seem to be an expert on this.
I'm so not going to respond to that. Forget
the
it.
same thing, Effie. Good question.
Okay.
I have a question. Hello,
Z and then Mara.
my turn?
Yes.
Susie.
Oh,
Susie.
Thank you. Very obvious to me. These people are obvious that, I mean, they're a synagogue attending people. Do they have Torah study? And what do they do in this chapter and this when they read that? How do they handle it?
Okay, Mara.
Oh, what? Where did my question go?
No, your
there's no
question
answer to that question.
will sit in what in Yiddish would be called the Welterrein. I don't even know how to translate that. It's just going to go out there into space. Okay, Mara.
In verse 13, it's stated, and there, if there's no witness against her, how do the rabbis explain the fact that in this case there can be no witness, even if there is no witness, this ordeal goes on, but in other cases you must have two witnesses to a so-called crime?
Yes. First of all, it's sufficient, and tomorrow you're going to correct me on this. It's sufficient for the ordeal to be instituted if the husband himself files a claim with the Kohen. Witness is not required. He either knows it or suspects it, she goes through the ordeal. The second, no witness against her, normally two witnesses. Tamara, do you have any feeling about why a witness, a single witness, is referenced here?
Realize there were only a single witness.
Okay, I'm having trouble hearing you. It's
that.
me. Okay, no, okay. I don't have a good answer. I could make one up. But I mean, it's hard enough to have one witness while you're committing adultery. It's harder to have two. But that's probably not the case. It does say one witness. And that's what it says. Okay, I have no better answer than that. I'm sorry. I could be creative. Okay, now a fit of jealousy.
Rabbi, I'll take a stab at that. This was a point that I made yesterday, so I may be belaboring myself. But adultery is a taboo in all societies over all ages. It is a universal taboo, and it is therefore not simply a question of morality, but it's perceived as a threat to the society. And when you're dealing with a threat to the society, you're talking about something really serious. So even one witness would be adequate to trigger the response.
Okay, and I like your thought, Brad. So let's put it together. It's a violation of her vow. It's a weakening or a threat to his property value. It's an assault on his dignity and place. It is an assault on the structure of community. Okay, so you have four, I think, fairly substantial reasons why they would treat this very seriously. I'm going to bring forward something, Brad, which actually is in my notes a little bit further along.
Tamara typed out an answer that you can see in the.
Yes, yeah. Tamara put in one witness is only in the English. I didn't catch that. 14, 13. Vihilodnit Pasa, and she wasn't caught at it. Thank you. So the witness problem doesn't exist except in the mind of the translator. That's bad. I don't like that. Okay, but thank you. Thank you. Not in the Hebrew, so it's not a question. But I like Brad's answer anyway. The question came up. A, was this procedure ever carried out? And there is discussion in the Gemara, in the Talmud, and a lot of the rabbis say no, or maybe just once. And then the question came up, why was the procedure, though it's in the Torah, basically set aside by the rabbis in the Talmud? Why? And again, it's one of those strange things. I'm not going to go into, well, I will for a second. You know that the rabbis periodically annulled a Torah law. Now, how do you annul the word of God? By creating a legal fiction by which it can be bypassed. So Hillel looked at the world of making vows or taking out deposits, loans against property, which every 7 years has to go back to the owner, and the loan becomes a an impossible thing. You can't get a loan because you say, give me the money. I have 7 years to pay it back. Oh, next year's a sabbatical year. Boom, it's all over. So that would really interfere with business. And Hillel invented a way to go to the rabbinic court, have the court take possession of the land, and to bypass the sabbatical rule. So Hillel used legal mumbo jumbo to bypass a law of the Torah. You got to really hold on to this, because when people say we have no choice, it's the law, it's in the Torah. Well, actually, functionally, that's not how it worked. Secondly, here the rabbis annul the sota, which is what she is, the accused adulteress is called a sota. They annulled it. And then the rabbis asked themselves, why? And Brad, this goes back to your statement. The rabbis answered themselves because adultery has become so widespread. That's a very discouraging reality. Okay, and this was like a precursor to Longmeadow, Massachusetts. So when an infraction becomes so frequent, the rabbis simply said, we can't work with this. We can't work with this. That's not a pleasant thought. What is, Mara?
So in essence, a legal fiction can be created to get around anything in the Torah. How does that not undermine the validity? How does that not undermine the validity of our religion? To me, that seems like a huge issue.
Would anyone like to comment on that? And that's a fair question. It's a good question. Anyone like to comment? Okay. Merle.
I'm thinking of how our court system works now. People make up whatever they need to make up. I mean, that's a horrible thing to say, but they make up their own issues in order to make somebody who we all know is extremely guilty, not guilty. That's the only way I can say it. I mean, I don't know.
But this is a little bit different because this isn't the people, the plaintiff, whatever.
Right.
Up the case, it's the judge.
Well, and it's the same thing where, I mean, we had a case in a house behind us where this guy got accused of things he was doing. And then 6 months later, it turned out the judge was crooked with the people that accused the guy that lived in the house. And so I think there's a lot of crookedness going around in reality, and it didn't just start. It came from somewhere.
I'm gonna make an exception and then go call Larry and then Howard. This is not understood to be crookedness. This is understood. The real examples with regard to the U.S. Constitution. Even though ultra-conservatives say they want original intent in what the Constitution meant, ain't nobody who actually reads the Constitution for original intent. Any document intended to be forever has to be able to flex. It just, I don't mean to be disappointing. It just,
No.
It has to be. The Torah says 4 ways to do capital punishment. the rabbis say, sure, we agree with that totally, except we're going to make it impossible to apply. We're going to put extra rules on. Tomorrow, all laws require interpretation, rabbinic process, ongoing attempt to apply laws in a I can't say words like this, apply laws in a life-enhancing fashion as it pertains to changing times. That was elegant. Okay.
But, and that's what, and I was just gonna say, it's all about who interprets it, when and where.
But it's the purpose too.
Right.
The intention is not to destroy the document, but to allow it to live.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, Larry.
Yeah, that was way more articulate than what I'm going to say, but I think,
Or that I could say.
yeah, I think the basic principle that rules and enforcement of rules depend highly on the consent of the people who are subject to them is a universal thing. And it's not that you can get around any pronouncement in the Torah by reinterpreting it, but when society has changed and people don't view the conduct as prohibited or dangerous anymore, that you kind of have to find a way around it. The Constitution of our country, we would change or reinterpret by the Supreme Court. Here, you can't change the text, so you have to get around it somehow. Otherwise, people will begin to see the text as illegitimate if it doesn't comport with their understanding of right and wrong.
This is good stuff. Thank you very much. Howard.
Maybe religion, a valid religion, is what is left over after you take into account all sorts of things that people didn't like to talk about, but that we now, these days, we realize are just basically true about the way religions have been done, such as that the authorities have the power to turn things into their exact opposite by making rules, or the fact that the scriptures are all over the place and you can find anything you want in almost any of the holy books, or its opposite. So maybe the valid religion is what you have to come to grips with these things if you're a modern enlightened person, and then a valid religion with or connection with the level of the soul is what's left over after you've sort of strained all those things out.
Can you imagine, Howard, the rabbis in the Talmud debating when is the heartbeat of a fetus first heard? Forgive me. I mean, they don't have a clue from this, right?
Well, they had similar things that they argued about.
Yeah.
1 foot out, 2 feet out, one arm and one leg, things like that.
All kinds of things that the true believer will assert that obviously this is what they intended, and then try to force it down other people's throats. I agree with what you said. Thank you. Sukasa, then Risa.
I'd just like to ask, you're saying that the Talmud interpreted this so it was no longer punishable. What did they say? I know you can't go into the whole thing, but what was their logic that they could suddenly say that this wasn't a problem?
They never would say it's not a problem. They would just, why do you think some of these people spend all of their lives, forgive me, this is the Talmudic gesture, digging in to see what they can come out. This is very Talmudic. By the way, I just have to tell you, this is really important, and if you're keeping notes, take note. Jews talk with their hands. Okay, so I went to the dentist yesterday, and the dentist is Israeli, and he is a right-wing Israeli. So we got at each other in Hebrew in the office with all of the Hispanic and other nurses, and they're not understanding what's going on. And he is going like this, and I am going like this in the office in front of everybody. The only difference was he had a scalpel in his hand. And yes, he stabbed me. Okay? Setting that aside, it is very dangerous to talk to a Jew. Very dangerous. But it's not. Jim, put it into a movie. I mean, you know,
It can't be done.
it can't be done. Who would? And I'm standing there and I'm bleeding and I'm bleeding. And his response was, "But you're still wrong." Okay. The rabbis would never, Sukasa would never say, we are removing the harshness of the view of the act. They would just make it harder to apply. And you go like this to try to figure out why would they want to make it harder to apply, and then you get to the understandings. But they would never say, you know, everyone's committing adultery today, let's wipe this one off the books. You won't find that anywhere. Okay, great. Okay, I lost track of who's up next. Risa, did you speak already?
No. I'm ready to speak. The only thing I have to say is this isn't actually a punishment, is it? Isn't it a test to see if the person is guilty?
Oh, nobody can.
Yes. Why didn't I say that? Okay, Jim.
I have no idea.
I think that's a great observation. And the point is, it's a process of adjudicating complaints. It's not about the end result. It's just, there's been a challenge and it somehow expiates the service of the husband. And it serves a social function as well as a religious one or a investigatory one. This whole discussion is really interesting and relevant because, you know, we talk about strict construction of the Constitution and conservatives who invoke the letter of the laws as it was understood at the time, which of course nobody can know. Yet these people who appear to be so true to the Constitution only invoke that when it's convenient for them, such as states' rights, you know. And what we're asking of religion and or of a document is consistency over time, over thousands of years, and can't be done. I loved Howard's comment about how we have new ways of talking about things, and now that it's permissible, we can deal with the same issue in a different way without violating the intent of the first one. Well, it's a slippery slope, and the point is, we don't know what the intent was, and to pretend that we do is unfair and undemocratic, and it's not intellectually honest. So,
by the way, let me just jump in. Not that I know this personally, but I have been told by children and in-law children, in 1L, in the first year of law school, students will get a lecture never to speak of slippery slope. It is not a legal argument. Very interesting. I would use it in religion a lot. You know, you do this, and then tomorrow, and then pretty soon you're sleeping with a goat.
not you tomorrow.
Okay. And in the legal process in this country, you can't stand before a judge and say, Your Honor, if you rule this way, it's a slippery slope. That's not an acceptable argument. Interesting. I use it all the time.
Well, okay, I'm not a lawyer, so I shouldn't speak.
Exactly. We're not lawyers. We can use it, Brad.
Rabbi, I want to come back to the adultery issue, that the adultery taboo, which after all is one of the 10 commandments. So we're dealing with something, you know, pretty significant. And when I raised the question about, and I'm pressing you on this, when I raised the question that it was more than just a morality issue, it was somehow perceived as a societal threat. Your response was, well, it was because it was rampant that it was a threat. But I'm not sure that that answers the question about why adultery is a threat to the society. And is it strictly the question of inheritance, that the inheritance of property would be potentially confused if there were children as a result of this adulterous relationship? I'm trying to understand why it's so important in our religion.
Isn't it important in all religions?
Yes.
I think it is. And since I have my turn and I've been, I can't believe we haven't mentioned it. If this was rampant, what did they do about pregnancies? Did they just have all these children and the children weren't sure who their father was, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I mean, you're raising a whole bunch of questions. And one of the reasons why they went from patrilineality originally in the Torah, in Jewish law, to matrilineality, that Jewish identity is conveyed through the mother, is that the mother you always know, period, which simply agrees with your statement, that you create identity and belongingness in a tribe and property rights on the basis of who is the mother, because the father, you can't always be sure. You can't always be sure. And you are correct that way.
Well, I just want to add to that. How did it narrow down to today's morality? I mean, I know that adultery still takes place, but you're making it sound, Rabbi, like at this particular time, every other person was sleeping with every other person. And how did it trickle down to now there is more attention being paid to the commandments, to being paid to Torah, etc.?
We're asking great questions, fundamental questions. So I will answer with science fiction. Late one night, which is usually when I'm sitting alone in the office and I'm getting ready to close up after whatever work I'm doing, I sometimes go to YouTube. And I want to relax with music or with a familiar movie for a few minutes, just like that. So a couple of weeks ago, I went to 2001 Space Odyssey. And I was so unhappy because the opening scenes with the monkeys jumping around, so poorly done. Today, we do such a better job of it. And I didn't remember it as being poorly done. But these were clearly people in monkey suits and but to get to the point, why, Susie and others, was such a thing as a family created? Don't assume that family is the logical default relationship. Oh, that was a nice phrase. Don't assume that. People had to dawning humanity had to come to an understanding that they couldn't wander through life alone. They needed structure, and they invented the family. Husband and wife together, husband and husband, wife and wife, husband and wife and husband, whatever your chosen combination, is not written in the stars. It's a human convention. We invented it. Why? You offered some reasons, and I accept it. We offered reasons like property, security, food, division of labor, more complex life. We had all kinds of reasons, but we invented family.
Oh,
And it's weird to think about that,
that is.
because we want to think, well, Adam and Eve, that's how it's always. No, it's not how it was. And it wasn't that way in 2001 Space Odyssey either, as men in monkey suits were jumping around. And you began to understand that what we're living with in this is all invention. It's convention. It's not the will of God. It's not eternal scripture.
Thank you.
Okay, I see Effie shaking his head in severe judgment of me. I can handle that. Effie, do you want to offer a false or wrong statement here?
No, I just consider the source.
Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, thank you. All right, I have hands up. I don't know if those hands are still up.
Risa's up. Larry's up.
Okay, Larry, go ahead, please.
So I want to circle back to what Brad said about the reasons for the prohibition on adultery or the disfavor of adultery, and the risk that I think Susie mentioned about the resulting pregnancies and children and confusion about the family structure. And it struck me, and I wasn't there, so maybe other people know better than me, but the rise of key parties in Massachusetts and Phoenix and elsewhere in the 1970s, I think may have been a function of the widespread legal and technological availability of effective birth control. And it may be that the reason we don't have key parties anymore is that people who lived through that era, and again, I wasn't there, but may have come to remember the other negative aspects of adultery, including betrayal and breakup of family units and such. Those were just my thoughts.
Yeah, Larry, I don't think the people participating in those party games even considered it betrayal.
Oh, absolutely. There was definitely consent from every party, right?
Yeah.
At least in theory.
Yeah. And things changed. Birth control, everyone was fully aware, but afraid to say what the advent, the invention, the creation of available, free, accessible birth control would do to society. And it has done it. It then became, I remember every once in a while, some of the kids in my high school class, they're talking middle class Cleveland Heights, got pregnant. And I remember the whispers and the comments and the judgment. This was like, oh my God. Well, you spread birth control, you make availability of abortion, and all of the things which are considered to be God-given and forever, which were really a means of control, fade. And one of the things that we're looking at in society today is how do we create new bases of relationship? Because the threat, it was almost like, Do I remember? I'm much older than everyone here. I
No,
remember when AIDS was viewed as God's response to homosexuality.
Punishment,
Right.
absolutely.
1-to-1. And not only were people fearful of contagion, it was like, a adulterer stamped on the forehead, right? You stay away because these are people marked by God. That's how we slowly adapt. How society and family is going to emerge from this. Do you, oh boy, am I delivering a sermon? I hate when I do this. I'm sorry. But do you not believe that the rise in divorce is linked to all the changes in science and custom and all that? We are living at a time when we need to discover new rationales for behavior which we thought was sacred. How do we do that? I don't even know how we do that. Merle?
In response to Larry, these parties, the groups that invented them, created them, were very consensual. I mean, we were all in a hotel for Parents Weekend in Tucson, and they were all in the same hotel, and they came knocking on our door asking us if we wanted to join them. And they must, because my next comment is answer to Susie's, I think it was Susie's comment. They thought that we were wealthy and part of their group, and we just said no and slammed the door in their face, not unhappy about not being friends with these people anymore, because we knew what was going on and we didn't want any part of it. The other question, I think Susie asked it earlier, these people, for the most part, at least in this city, were extremely wealthy. They belonged to synagogues. They were very involved and officers of Federation. They gave a lot of money to Federation as well as to the congregations here. I mean, rooms were named after them. Preschool rooms were named after these people when preschools and day schools started and temples were adding on. And but I would say, as someone who goes to temple quite frequently then, and, we don't know what's going on now, but those people, it was sort of like their kids were bar mitzvah confirmed. Okay, so we're done. We don't have to be at temple anymore. And the only time they were ever at temple was when they were honored for the amount of money they gave. And I mean, one person came to temple one week, and I think it was during Yizkor, and was very upset because they had a service and Yizkor didn't start until the end of the service. It was for some holiday. And so this was their mindset. They weren't really interested in being at temple except for the recognition. So they were all very wealthy. They were all, in whatever way, I guess they thought they were practicing their Judaism, and that was it.
I'm going to say something. My goal in life is to upset you every week. The group. That's my goal. And I usually succeed. When I say Shabbat Shalom, Effie's already upset with me, and then the rest of you come along later. Now, we are well aware of a number of the families who were involved in the Long Meadow phenomenon. And what you described about their children, Merle, was wrong for those people. Their kids, not 100%, Risa, okay? Their kids grew up, had Jewish families, became involved, and they were not the way you described them, with all due respect. Were many, are many, of course. Listen, I've dealt with these people. I know what it means to feel privileged for them, what they understand privilege to be. Last story. I go walking every morning with my healthcare person, with Gilroy. And one of the things that's happened along the Venice beach is the commodification of every bare spot. There are ads. I mean, if you stand still, they will put a poster on you. It is really like that. It is amazing. So there is a major wall which has the pictures of their Kardashians, each one in a poster. And so Gilroy and I were making kind of snide comments about Kardashians. He says, you know, one once came to the Wiesenthal Center where he's in charge of the security. And so I'm fascinated. And he said, she came up to me, I'm head of security there, and said, I know the program is over, but I want to go backstage to meet with the speaker. And he said, you can't do that. And her response, Merle, was, don't you know who I am? Okay, so yes, of course. By the way, my Gilroy did not let her in. She immediately called the chairman of the Wiesenthal Center, who said, Gilroy's right, you're wrong. So, but yeah, people feel that way. Well, it's a good story. There's a little bit of love and justice still in the world. We're going to have to end now and go directly to Kaddish. May I thank you? I was a little bit worried whether this topic would arouse interest. It did better than that. It aroused some very serious thinking. And I'm not surprised. I'm grateful to be with you. Is that okay to say?
Well, I'm grateful to be with you too.
Oh, please, Susie, go ahead. Don't let me interrupt.
We're grateful that you're with us or that you teach us.
Okay, keep going. Must be more to say. Okay.
I don't know whether we're ending this session with thinking adultery is okay or whether we're thinking it's not okay, but it's personal, just personal. Let's just do it that way.
I am so not going to say what immediately flashed through my mind. I am not. Like, should we have a study weekend together? And I just decided, no.
And bring our keys.
No.
I just want to say before we leave that I agree very much with Larry's text in the chat, but I didn't want to bring it up. I agree with exactly what you're saying. We never pointed out that the male in this sexual relationship is punished at all. And I thought that was going to take the discussion in a totally different direction. But we cannot look at this in 2023 and see things that were written so long ago and understand them completely, because this was such a statement of how women had no rights, period. Okay, so I'm sorry to say this at the very end, but once I saw Larry's chat, it gave me confidence.
Remember that our religion is mostly a male religion.
Absolutely.
They were no women rabbis in those days, or if they were very few.
Well, whatever. So this is what we have to remember when we interpret this, is how long ago it was, and for that time it made sense, probably. Okay, so that was my
No, thank you. Thank you. Necessary, important, and true. And I'll end with a word from our sponsor. Thus, we Reformed Jews have a major role in reshaping whatever is going to emerge
Right.
in terms of Judaism, because it won't be what was. We turn now to Kaddish. We mentioned
Hopefully.
those who have passed away during the previous month. Karl Kovitz, Jerry Fleischman, Louis Goldman, Molly Loomer, Rimach, Naum Tickman, Sandy Zwern. And yortsites that occurred during this past week: Albert Altman, Randy Bank, Matthew Bergen, Louis Berger, Jacob Brown, Bernard Brown Jr., Catherine Cardinal, Charles Kohler, Edward Cord, Mary Edelstein, Gloria Farkas, Burton Fine, Pearl Feller, Marcia Finkel, Cecilia Firestein, Jennifer Friedman Chalk, Jenny Gable, Malcolm Glazer, Warren Goldberg, Phyllis Goodman, Evelyn Green, Charles Greenwald, Harold Gross, Herbert Haas, Andy Harris, Louis Hausman, Sidney Hoffman, Bruce Hubbard, Sarah Eisenberg, Mike Lackman, Norton Lansing, Brett Lawrence, Bell Lerman, Sam Levin, Harry Levine, Seymour Levine, Lester Levy, Ann Lubin, Samuel Lubliner, David Madden, Henrietta Maltzman, Jonathan Min, Shirley Minter, Louis Moldo, Ariel Moore, Evelyn Sachs Morgan, Blanche Nevitt, Catherine Orange, Netta Orangel, Doris Orlikoff, Seal Ostro, Joan Pansky, Wilma Pascal, Earl Pash, Anthony Perlman, Helen Wildman Pollock, Toby Rawson, Robert Ryan, Diane Ryback, Julie Rose Ralston, Helen Roseman, Albert Rosenblatt, Mike Ruby, Jerome Samperstein, Dr. Victor Schiller, Lily Schiller, Gustav Schiller, Sylvia Schlosser, Rose Schwartz, Moore Shapiro, Leslie Scherer, Elsa Sheridan, Leslie Schoen, Clara Siegel, Nancy Siegel, Alfred Silver, Harry Silver, Ralph Skluth, Alter Simpson, Stan Tashman, Saul Tivoli, Lou Wasserman, Harold Weisfeld, Joseph David Weissman, Philip White, Stuart Wine, Lloyd Winthrop. We mention as well, calling into our hearts those who died in defense of the United States, those who died in defense of the state of Israel, those who died through senseless acts of terror, those for whom there is no immediate family to say Kaddish. If you have other names, please speak them aloud at this time or speak them in your hearts.
Shirley Weiner.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah Yalma Ivra Chirutei V'yamlich Malchutei V'chaye Chon of Yomech V'chaye all Beit Yisrael Ba'agala Bizman Kari V'imru Amen.
Amen.
Yehei Shmei Rabbah B'vorah Lalam Omei Omaya Yitbarach Yishtabach Yishba'ar Yitramam Yitnaseh Yitadar Yitaleh Yitalal Shmei Dekudishah Elam Min Kol Irchata V'Shirata Tushbachata V'Nechamata Da'amiran Bi'alma V'Yamlu
Amen.
Yehei Shlama Rabbah Shemaya Chayim Aleinu Kol Yisrael V'Imru Amen.
Amen.
Shalom B'Romav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Kol Yisrael V'Imru Amen.
Amen.
Who makes peace in the high places, make peace in our hearts, make peace in our homes, make peace in the household of Israel, make peace among all the families and nations of earth. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
A pleasure. This was
Shabbat shalom, everybody. Thank you.
Good to see everybody.
always.
Beautiful to see everybody. Enjoy the rest of the day.
You too.
Thank you.